Tonight, we're going to play an array of videos and discuss them all. It's stuff that you want to see, it's stuff you want to talk about, it's stuff you want to hear. So, get ready, because it's all unfiltered. Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me on this Friday night. As always, we do a little something special on Friday night shows. And tonight, we're going to, like I said, play some videos, and we're going to discuss them. So we're going to want to get your email sent in to us. Tell us what you think. To do this with me, we have Lyss Stern. She is the founder and CEO of DivaMoms.com. Also with us is Amy Dardashtian. She's a legal analyst and an Emmy Award-winning journalist. And also with us is Tom Ruskin. He's a former assistant police commissioner and retired detective with the NYPD. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, and I want to explain this one more time. We did it last week. I want to do it again this week. I ask everybody here on the panel to pick out a video. And basically, the way they have to do it is Tom was in charge of picking out something that was worldly, and then we had Amy that had to pick something national, and Lyss picked something that had a local feel, and I picked something that is unfiltered. So that being said, Tom, we're going to start with you. Tell us about what your video is.
The video has to do with the Israeli soldier who went on trial, as it happens today, the sergeant who executed the man in the street, the Palestinian terrorist in the street, and was caught on tape. And the trial, as I said, started today with one of the high military people taking the stand against his own soldier.
All right, let's play the video. All right, so just in case you missed that, I want to set this up for you. That is, two Palestinians tried to kill a bunch of Israeli soldiers. They were unsuccessful. One of the men, in being unsuccessful, was brought down, and he was bleeding, and looks like he was pretty much dying. And out of nowhere, I don't know if you saw it, when the car was starting to move there, the Israeli soldier just decided to put him out of his misery, if you will. So now what Tom was saying is now that this soldier, if I'm not mistaken, this soldier was reprimanded for shooting this guy after he was already down on the ground.
He was reprimanded. He was charged with murder.
He was charged with murder.
I think it was downgraded to manslaughter.
Okay.
But he was charged with murder. Manslaughter is the charge that they're bringing to court. This is a guy who shot. He's a military man. It's the same thing as being a law enforcement officer. You're trained when to stop. And at that point in time, the guy is mortally wounded. He's not causing a threat. What came out in the trial today, which is very interesting, is the prosecutor has a video from a different angle showing that one of the Israeli ambulance drivers kicks the knife closer to the Palestinian terrorist's hand to maybe support the soldier's story that it may have been self-defense.
So your take on this, Tom, is the fact that the soldier, the Israeli soldier, is wrong for blowing the Palestinian terrorist away.
You can't shoot a guy who's down. I mean, then we go to a fourth world country. In a first world country where we have laws, in the United States, Israel, and other countries similar, you can't just shoot a man who's mortally wounded. He may have been dead or dying, but you can't just put another bullet in him because that's the way you feel.
I would disagree with that. I mean, Israel calls it moral combat, and there is a law of war, like you're saying, for legitimate soldiers. Even the Geneva Convention says you have to treat people who are captured humanely if they are acting on behalf of a state, in the same way that we would want our soldiers treated if they were captured abroad. But there's a distinction going back, and people will recognize this from the Bush administration, enemy combatants and unlawful enemy combatants. And if you're legitimate, yes, you get those protections as an enemy combatant. But if you're a terrorist, it's been decided by our president and by our courts, at least in this country, and Israel should follow suit, that if you're unlawful and you're strapping bombs to your chest and you're flying buildings into planes, you're a terrorist. You don't deserve those protections.
But you do deserve the protection of being brought to trial and having your accusers stand up against you. You can't shoot a person who is down and not causing any further threat and execute that person.
But we don't know the mindset of the soldier. The soldier said he could have had a bomb strapped to his chest.
That's going to be his defense. From what I see in this tape and what they're showing today, it shows that the guy was mortally wounded, possibly dead already, and he put another bullet in his head.
Tom, I got to tell you, man. I have usually when you're on the show, you and I agree, but pretty much about everything. This one, I'm gonna, and usually she and I go head to head. It's like we flipped here because I have absolutely no problem with him putting a bullet in that guy's head. Wait, let me just chime in here for a second, because what we hear all too often is about how it is that we've captured somebody. We put somebody away. Then they get released and they go right back to the battlefield. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not an Israeli soldier there. My adrenaline's pumping. You know this better than anybody. I was never a cop. My adrenaline's pumping. I'm thinking about this. I'm saying, this scumbag just tried to take me out. You know what? Boom! And it's over. I would like to have seen the Israelis defend that Israeli soldier. That's what I think is the bigger problem in the story.
They can't inflame the region. They have a choice. They can either go against their own, or they can risk that other people are going to try to take vengeance out against them, and they're going to inflame all the tension in the region.
Intelligently, we can say that. Intelligently, we feel the adrenaline. It's the same thing as a cop making an arrest. Should he hit him one more time? The guy hit you in the face. He broke your nose. Should you beat the crap out of him? But you want to know something? He's a terrorist, but he has rights under a normal, civilized society. No, but you okay. You can disagree with me, but at a certain point in time, he's down. He's not causing any more threat.
That we know of. How do we know?
Because the video shows him absolutely.
Okay, chime in.
We don't know. We don't know anything. For all we know, he could have bombs attached to him. I think the Israeli soldier was doing the right thing. This guy was a terrorist.
First off, if he had a bomb strapped to him, I would recommend no one go close to him. That wasn't the case here. These guys attacked Israeli soldiers. So this was a vendetta. This was to shoot a guy who was mortally wounded and put him out of his misery. We go back then to Neil Livingstone, who was probably the best writer relative to terrorism before terrorism was terrorism, saying that if someone takes over a plane and is a hostage taker on a plane, the only way to deal with that person is to go on that plane and take out those hostage takers, because you can't negotiate for that person at a later date. They're non-negotiable. They're dead. And that's what used to happen years ago. I get that. But in a civilized society, we can't just be going around executing people, even on the battlefield.
Tom, listen to the words you're saying, and I have so much respect for you.
Yeah.
In a civilized society, what is civilized about two Palestinians going up to two Israelis who are always under attack? It's 24/7, 365, and them sitting there and say, well, you know, this is civilized. I say blow this guy away. I have a better question for you, all right? Do you have children?
Yep.
Okay. If your son was the Israeli who popped that guy in the head, would you still be taking that same position that, we got to live in a civilized world, I don't know whether or not he's...
I'm in the investigative world, so a lot of times we always say your innocence begins with our retainer nowadays, but you can't just go around shooting people.
Well,
I'm sorry, as an officer, I can't have officers in the city of New York going around and justifying justice right there, what we call street justice in the street. You can't allow that to happen in a civilized society. And at a certain point in time, you have to draw that line.
Well,
now, if he's a threat, he's going for a knife, he's doing something, it changes the scenario, and that's for his defense attorney to do.
Tom, the terrorist mindset, and again, you know this, Look at 9/11. You know, I interviewed Rudy Giuliani for one of my films, and he said something I still think to this day is one of the most brilliant things I ever heard. He said, look, when we go after crime, when we go after the Gaudis, he says, you know what? I'm not a criminal, but I could put my mind in the criminal's mindset. How do I steal this car and get away with it? How do I bury this body and get away with it? How do I steal this money and not get caught? Right. But when it comes to the terrorist, it's hard to put ourselves into that person's mind because it's so irrational to think that you are going to kill yourself in order to kill somebody else that you don't know and who has done nothing to you. He says that's why it's so hard for us to catch these people. So I sit there and I look at this and I see this Israeli guy and he blows this guy away with the understanding that if he does get off that ground, this guy is going to come back, whether it's today, tomorrow, or a year from now, and try to do the same thing. And you know what? F that. I'm not going to wind up seeing me or anybody else I know killed because of this scum.
I mean, the only negative thing is that, I shouldn't say the only negative, one of the negative things is that, right, that he could have been a source of information.
Well,
there you go.
Okay. But that's down the road. I mean, that defeats all the arguments.
We got to cut to a commercial. All right. That was a good one. That was a good. All right, Tom. Hopefully we agree on the next one. All right. All right. What do you think? Send me an email at dmlreport@newsmax.com. That's dmlreport@newsmax.com. We read them all. We can't respond to them all, but we read them all. We're going to come back in a couple of minutes. Don't go away.